Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Analyst Relations Inspiration Session. I am thrilled because this is a party. We have tons of people here, new people to AR, existing pros in AR, and I'm thrilled to have so many people join the webinar. I'm Robin Schaefer. I've been doing AR for about 15 years, and before that, many years of B2B tech marketing. So I come with a very strategic view of what AR can do, and I want to share that with you. This webinar is for both the new and the existing people. And if you've been around the block a lot of times, I really encourage you to give me feedback and talk to me because that's how I learn and get better. That's how we all learn and get better. I've learned everything I know about analyst relations from all of you, from you sharing your ideas with me, from me sharing ideas with you. So I encourage you to continue to reach out and for us to talk. A couple of things of housekeeping before we get started. So first of all, ask your questions in the chat as we go along. You are all on mute, so you can unmute yourself if you have something to say. And I think with that, we can get going. So the first part of the webinar is very basic things about AR, which of course is for new people, but I think AR pros, I always get benefit by listening to someone explain what AR is because everybody has a different spin on it. So I like to look at it and say, what do I say at a cocktail party? What do I say to my mother? What is AR? I always used the metaphor to say AR is like consumer reports for business. Consumer Reports is a magazine, website, etc. in the US, and it might be international, that helps consumers make buying decisions on things like refrigerators or cars. And they have experts on refrigerators and cars that write reports and do analysis and advise consumers to help them make decisions. Well, in B2B technology, the same thing happens. Buyers of technology look to analysts to help them understand the market and make their decisions. So just like Consumer Reports is very influential for the refrigerator manufacturer, industry analysts are very influential for tech businesses. Now, the why. We're going to talk a lot about the why today. Why do you do analyst relations? And the only reason to do it is to leverage these powerful influencers to drive your business goals. And we're going to explain what we mean by that. Who should do AR? So we talked about B2B tech vendors. That's the world that AR plays in. And I would say, especially in crowded, confusing markets, because when buyers are overwhelmed and confused, analysts thrive. Buyers depend on analysts to explain things to them, to expose them to new ideas, and to help them make decisions. And then vendors have to use this channel, have to work with this channel to get that influence to be positive for them. And when most smaller companies ask me, when do I need to do AR? And I feel very strongly that you plan immediately at startup, right when you begin your business and you start to get some traction. You think about, when is AR the right move for me? And that's going to be different for every business. Everyone has a different business model, a different market, and things just are different. And the plan may reflect that. And then once you have the plan, you implement according to when it makes sense. So again, that's going to be different for different businesses. So now we're going to meet the analyst. Again, most of you know what an analyst is, but let's explain it. I'll give you my explanation. Who is this analyst? So he wears many hats, and different analysts wear different hats to make it even more confusing. But the roles an analyst may play fall into, I think, these four categories. Either they're customer advisors, where they help customers make buying decisions and are therefore quite influential. They're vendor advisors, where they help vendors with their go-to-market, their strategy, their products, etc. And really good ones do both, and they handle both the customer advice and the vendor advice, and they keep a strict Chinese wall between them, but you really get both sides of the equation when you work with them. All analysts tend to be researchers. They all have a specialty, an area that they're an expert on, and they will analyze the market trends, the market share, the projections in that market, and write about it and research what customers are doing and so forth, and evaluate vendors in that space. And then some of them are speakers or writers. They're out in the media, they are at conferences, they write blogs, and they have a large megaphone, and they can amplify messages. So an analyst may be all four of these. They may be one, two, three, or all four, as I said. Okay. Now, once you understand what an analyst is, the next thing is to understand and meet the value they derive. And there's three ways analysts deliver value, which we're going to go into a little bit more in a minute. But the three things they do basically is help you sell, help you bring in leads revenue, help you market, and that's where you have the brand awareness and concept awareness and amplification of your messages, and help you gain insights. And that's the incoming part of analyst relations, where they give you feedback, recommendations, advice, and insights about the market. So we're going to look at how to match up different analysts with different values that is important to you and your business. One more quick background slide is the analyst firm landscape. Again, most of you know this. Analysts firms are regarded in three tiers generally. Tier one, you always hear Gartner, Forrester, IDC. Those are the big gorillas, the biggest firms, the most analysts, the most coverage. They're international, and they have a lot of leverage and influence in the market. Then there is tier two, which are smaller but well-known firms, like you may have heard of Omdia, HFS. There's many of them that have a similar model. They have a lot of analysts, and they focus on a particular area. So the smaller firms might, like I said, might be more focused than the larger ones, but they have the same kind of business models. And then tier three are the independents or boutiques. These are the regional industry or technology focused analysts. And they may be one or two people in a firm that focus deeply on that particular slice of the market. Now, what you find is it seems kind of simple, but it gets extremely complicated because an individual independent analyst that is tier three in general may rise to tier one for you because they're very influential and they really know this niche of the market that you're in. And then when you look at Gartner, Forrester, IDC, they have thousands of analysts, and only a handful are going to be relevant to you. Most of them won't even be on your map. So it gets a little bit confusing when you start to rank and tier these analysts and these firms. But this is the general way we think about the firms in these three categories. Okay, so now we're going to go into the main part of the presentation. Inspirations. 5 inspirations that can make AR a powerful weapon and a career booster. And I'm inspired every day. I hope you're inspired every day. And if not, become inspired, because it is such a cool market that we're in, and cool space that we're in. And it's really pretty fun and interesting. So I've organized my ideas into inspirations and what makes AR inspirational, what gives AR inspiration, and what can you do to be inspirational with AR. So let's go through those. The first one, inspiration 1, powerful AR addresses critical business objectives. Now, most people know that. It sounds pretty intuitive. It's easy to say. It is very hard to do, because in AR, we are constantly acting and executing activities, and we're very, very busy, and it's very hard to see the forest for the trees when you're in it every day. But the basic areas that you can impact your business with AR fall into these 5 general spaces. And people can argue that there's more or less, but I like to think of them as these 5. Leads and revenue is the first one, and most people are very conscious of how analysts can bring you leads and drive revenue by recommending you, advising clients to buy you, and once you have established that awareness with them, it can be very profitable and help you in driving business. The second thing is brand and concept awareness. So analysts can help you get your brand on the map and get the concepts or categories that are interesting to you and you want to break through, bring the awareness and amplify those messages. So those particularly that have a good megaphone will help you there. Then the third category is product market fit. This is very critical if you're a small vendor and you're just breaking out with your first product. You really need to understand the market, understand the customers, understand the capabilities they need, understand what they'll buy today and what this analyst thinks they're going to be looking for tomorrow. So if you're a small firm, it's important, but large firms that come out with new products need that validation and feedback as much as the small ones. So that helping with product market fit is critical. The fourth thing is insights. And this is a little bit, of this taking it to the next level. And insights are higher level information and feedback on competitors, customers, customer needs, trends, and they can help with your business strategy, your go-to-market plans, and your messaging and different aspects of what you do to be successful in your business. So those insights are in that category. And then the last one is funding or stock price, which is obviously important to every company, extremely important to some companies looking for funding. And analysts and investors work together in an ecosystem where analysts advise investors, help them understand markets, help them understand vendors. And you need to understand how analysts are impacting the investors in your market and work through that to get the good results. So the potential impact is all along these 5 areas. Now, inspiration 2. Analysts respond to their own aspirations. This is a good one because it really reinforces that you must know an individual analyst and know what their opinion is. And analysts are human beings, and if you want to capture their attention, if you are a smaller mid-sized vendor, it's actually quite difficult to capture their attention. If you're a large vendor, a mega vendor, they generally are interested in what you're doing. But if you're small or mid-size or in an area that you're not known for, trying to break into, know and understand the world from the analyst perspective. What do they care about? Can you help them become successful? Then you become important to them. So the first thing, I need to know everything. They need to be an expert on the space that they cover. And if you have a position, a point of view, a new product, an upcoming disruptive way to do that, they need to know about it. They can't be caught off guard by vendors coming out of left field or products coming out of left field. They need to know everything that you're up to. The second thing is they want to be your trusted advisor, which is an interesting point and surprised me. I wrote a book actually recently called Analysts on Analyst Relations, which is a whole compendium of analyst interviews and articles and blogs about what they want and what the world looks like from their perspective, intended for AR professionals to learn from it and adapt what they do. Anyway, the thing that I learned the most about in doing that project was that analysts crave to be trusted advisors. They are always sold to or or communicated with by vendors. But what they really want to do is sit down at your side of the table and help you work through problems and become important to your planning. And they want to give that feedback. They want you to hear that feedback. The third thing that every analyst needs are great customer stories. The analyst doesn't want to hear the vendor talk about how wonderful they are. They want customer stories. They want to hear real customers getting real ROI, doing real implementations with your product. And when you tell those great stories, you're very memorable, and they can use the information, and you help them in a way that is important because, as I said, they need to know everything. They need to know what customers are doing. And the last one, not always true, is they want to be famous. And this kind of, goes hand in hand with some of the other things. They want to be on the map. They want their name known. They want to be the expert on this space. And they want to be in the media. They want to be quoted. They want to be speaking. They want to be famous. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. So to the extent that you can help them meet these needs, you can capture their attention. And AR pros know that when you reach out to analysts, it's very important to do it right, okay? And analysts complain when people do reach out to them using these kind of tactics that are explained on the slide. The good AR pros know that you don't reach out randomly. You engage with them regularly. You don't pitch them. You're not generic. You tailor things to their specific research and so on. You will get these slides, and I recommend you print this one out and stick it on your wall and never be that person that does all those notes. Okay. Third inspiration, engage with purpose. Format follows objectives. And the basic idea of this is engaging with analysts for the sake of engaging with analysts is a waste of time. I always start with an analyst engagement plan for my top tier analysts. I do for maybe 5 or the most 10 analysts that I'm going to cover for a company. And these engagement plans look at where an analyst is now and where you want them to be in 6 months or 12 months or some period of time. What do you want them to think, believe, and do? And then what engagements do you have to have along the journey to get that change to happen? So I look at it that way from the analyst perspective out. And I will say that the basic engagement that you always have with an analyst is briefings. That's where you're educating them, you're selling your value prop to them, and they don't cost any money. They are free, but they are granted based on merit. You have to earn their time and their attention, which is back to the capturing attention. But then you get the free briefings, and most companies will let you do that as often as you have something important to say that the analyst agrees to. The other 3 types of engagements, we're not going to go into in depth, but they cost money. Inquiries are short inquiry, question and answer discussion, back and forth questions that you could ask them. Advisory is like an inquiry, but you deeply engage with them for like a half a day or a full day. And then special projects are things like webinars or papers or custom research where you're working together with them to achieve a goal. So those 3 cost money, and we're going to talk a lot about investments in a moment. And if you're new to AR and you want to understand these better, I can talk about them all day, and all you have to do is reach out and we can have a discussion about the different ways to engage with analysts. All right, so inspiration 4 is about investment that I promised. Every penny invested needs clear ROI. It is always interesting to me because those new to AR seem to overinvest, and those with more experience deal with tighter budgets. Now, I've always gotten the AR budget that I've wanted because I've got clear ROI. I've done it with dollars and cents, justified what I'm going to do, and show the benefit, the potential benefit, or the benefit I expect to get from that investment. It's not easy to do, and you can't always do it, but when you can do it, when I have done that well, money seems to have fallen from the sky suddenly and is available for the projects. So when I look at investments, I always want people to invest to meet specific objectives. I am a cheapskate. I like to do everything that's free first, and then invest when you need to and when it makes sense. So the first thing is you need to have AR expertise and management. You have to have somebody or some group responsible for the results of the program. They need to understand AR and how to do this tricky and interesting and nuanced business. And then they can guide all of your programs to the success. And you don't need to spend money with the firms beyond that, but you must have that expertise or you're really squandering some of the other investments. Okay, so that's your foundation. Number two, I recommend analyst advisory as a second thing a company would invest in. What an analyst advisory session, as I mentioned a minute ago, that's like a half a day or a full day discussion, dialogue, back and forth, deep engagement. Many firms will do that as a standalone. Some firms require it as part of a research subscription, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you want to find the ones in your industry that are knowledgeable and can help you and give you insights that will do it as a standalone project and do it once or twice a year for you. The third thing I suggest people invest in are these special collaborative projects like papers together or research together or guest blogging or webinars or different things projects the analyst can work with you on, which gives you two values. First of all, you generate leads because whatever the project is designed for lead generation. And you build a tight relationship. You change the nature of the relationship because now you're working together on a common goal as opposed to sitting on different sides of the table. You're kind of working together on the same side of the table, and it's very good for the relationship. The fourth is now research and inquiry through subscriptions, right? So you've heard of Gartner seats subscriptions, Forrester seats or subscriptions, IDC. And all of the firms have some kind of research offering, subscription offering. And a subscription generally gives you access to their research and access to the analyst for inquiry. We talked about before, those 30-minute chunks. And generally, you get theoretically an unlimited number of these calls. So you can call these analysts all the time and bond with them and talk about the things that are most interesting to you, where you're looking for those insights on product, like we talked about, or on the competitors, the customer trends, the messaging that you do. But they will give you feedback, and when you ask good questions, you get great insights from the analyst. And I should say that's also hugely beneficial to the relationship because analysts really enjoy that dialogue and those questions and helping you. And then events, analyst events like the Gartner Symposium or something are really high quality events generally. And a lot of the firms, almost all the firms do some sort of events. And they typically attract very high quality audience of senior people. And they're great for lead generation. So events have other benefits, like you can meet with the analysts, you can support their presentation, you can do different things with them, you can have a booth, and lead generation is what I think of as the main value of investing in events. And I actually don't consider events part of the AR budget. It really is part of the event budget. It just happens to be with an analyst firm, and it does have some analyst relations value. Okay, let's finish up with inspiration 5, which is Hope is not a strategy. This is where I see most companies leaving money on the table. So, as I said before, AR is so full of activity, it's easy to lose the big picture and fall short on action. So, I like to look at it this way: I want to take action to get results. So, these are the 5 business areas and business values that we talked about earlier. And assuming you've done a great job and you have analysts knowledgeable, thinking well of you, believing in your brand and your concepts, and you have a great relationship, what do you do about it? So with leads and revenue, once you get that happy analyst, you need to point prospects to them for feedback. And you need to do that proactively. And I've done a lot of really interesting work with sales teams on how they can use analysts' coverage and analysts' perspectives to help them open, advance, or close deals. The second is brand and concept awareness. So we talked about how analysts have big megaphones. Some analysts, I'm sorry, have big megaphones, and you want to tap into that and build your brand and concept awareness, get your messages out there, and have that third party help you with that. Well, you have to just promote that content. You're going to get some content, you're going to get an event, you're going to get something out of it, and you have to promote the heck out of it because it's not going to just sell itself, right? So that is like any other piece of content marketing, you need to have a big and good promotional plan to take advantage of the analyst's alignment with you on those concepts and brand messaging. Product market fit. So assuming you have the access to the analyst through inquiry and advisory sessions, you want to pick their brains. And too many times I find that people are always in the selling, pushing mode with analysts and don't do enough of getting that input and designing time to ask them questions and pull information in and really get a tight and sharp feedback. But you have to pick their brains to get it and to help you with your product market fit. And then likewise with the more general insights about the competitors, the customers, the trends, you have to pursue that input. You have to pursue those insights. You have to put yourself in the situation where you're asking good questions and getting good information from the analysts. And then, most importantly, you have to apply it. And I see most companies, many companies, I don't know what superlative to use, but a lot of companies do not apply the nuggets of gold that analysts give you, the feedback, the recommendations, the insights that they give you. They fall into a black hole somewhere, like that was interesting and we don't do anything about it. So don't let that happen to you. And I'm always, with a program, I capture insights and I manage insights and I manage action plans. And most importantly, I close the loop back with the analyst because they want to hear that their ideas were carefully considered and listened, and they were listened to. Even if you don't agree with them, the fact that you got back to them and you shared with them what your perspective is. First of all, if you adopt something that they suggested, they will love you forever. It's just sort of human nature. And even if you disagree with them, they'll respect you. You give them a good reason, and they'll like the fact that you've got a real vision that you're going after. So apply those insights and give the analyst feedback. And then funding and stock price, we talked about that ecosystem between the investors and the analysts. Make sure you manage that. Make sure you understand it, and make sure the analysts that matter are talking about you very positively so that you get that benefit. So those are all my inspirations, and I could easily talk about these 5 things all day. I could talk about 100 other things. So I will stop though. And getting value comes down to 5 things I think summarize it. The first thing is start today if you haven't done AR yet. Take it farther if you're doing it already. The sky's the limit. The second thing is empower AR. Get the right resources Take it seriously and leverage the potential. Set goals is pretty self-explanatory. We get what we set out to do and what we measure. So be specific with what you want to accomplish with the AR program. It's easy to be wishy-washy, but set goals and measure. Engage with purpose. Never engage for the sake of it. Always have a purpose for every touch with an analyst. And then leverage the positive mojo. I always think that half the AR job is getting those analysts happy, and the other half is leveraging it to all those business benefits we talked about. So that is the end of my content. I would love to hear from you about this content. My contact information is here on the slide. I've got all kinds of ways to reach me, and I would love to just chat. I love chatting with other AR pros or people that are just breaking into this space. So go ahead, set a call, reach out. And I'm also interested in the other topics that you would find interesting. Like, for example, how do you engage and inspire people internally? How do you get budget? How do you do a great briefing? How do you manage insights? What are buddy programs? And the whole tiering and ranking thing. These are topics, and there's a million more that are fun to explore and share ideas about. And maybe in the future we can do some more interactive sessions where we can talk through some of these ideas. So reach out and let me know what's interesting. What would you like to hear about? What will tickle your fancy? So that's the end of my presentation, my formal presentation. So I want to thank everybody for joining, and I am looking forward to talking to you in the future. Take care. Bye-bye.